Hello and welcome to another video. So happy new year and welcome to 2023. I'm back in the chair and I'm here to tell us a story. Yes, it's a story of deceit. It's a story of betrayal. It's a story of I run out of adjectives to qualify this story. But then again, it's one of the perks of being a small creator. Small creators can actually, go out, and touch on these stories. Like we have limitless creative freedom to be able to do this in a way that big creators who are worried about their endorsements or their free perks, they'll be afraid to touch on these stories. But we can do this, and that's why you should follow us seriously, because we're here to keep you informed. At least I am. Let me speak for myself now. I am. This story came out of Nairaland, basically, because it's a place where I spend a lot of time myself. I spend a good amount of time on Nairaland. And, I was scrolling through and then I saw this post with this very provocative headline. And I was like, seriously? I hope this is not just one of those, like half-assed, low-effort posts that people make to get attention to themselves, like clickbaity stuff when they want to do something else and then they put a title that would get people to click in and then view in and then you see something entirely different. But no, that wasn't what it was. When I got in there, basically the entire summary of his message was compelling enough for me to actually want to do further research on it. Now, his point was that he did his research because he likes, the brand. He did his research. He absolutely did his research. And then he saw that there were several variants of the phone. Only for him to actually purchase the phone. And then what he saw, what he bought was different from what was advertised. And I was like, whoa, Oppo Nigeria is way too big for something like this. This is something you'd expect from some low-end, Oppo are big. They are part of the BBK conglomerate. They are one of the top 5, smartphone companies in the world by sales. Like, these guys are huge. You understand me? They are big. OnePlus is a daughter company, I beg your pardon. It's a daughter company of Oppo. So definitely, they should be bigger than stuff like this. You get? So I decided to I went through everything that he said. Although I tried to reach him for comment, but he declined. He wouldn't reply me back. So then again, I was like, you know what? It's fine. I think this is something worth looking into. And then I went out, to go do my investigation. So basically, the premise of the whole thing was this. Oppo has several variants of the Reno 8. Now, the problem with the Reno 8 itself is that how am I going to put this? The problem with the Reno 8 is that it just simply says Reno 8. And I don't know whoever made that marketing or branding decision, but whoever did it seriously needs, the person needs to have their job reassessed because the phone just says Reno 8. Now, unfortunately, there are 4G variants and there are 5G variants of the Reno 8. But mostly, if you do not do your findings, you just see Reno 8. Now, the Reno 8 has several variants, of which I'm only going to be concentrating on 2 of them. The 4G version with the Snapdragon 680 and the 5G version with the Dimensity 1300. I think those are the 2 most popular ones. I think there's also another variant with the Snapdragon 695, but that doesn't really seem to be global or as popular as the aforementioned 2. So one of them, which is the Dimensity 1300, packs really, really high-end specs. I wouldn't really say flagship. I would say more like flagship killer premium mid-range specs. Whilst the other one, the 4G variant with the Snapdragon 680, is a basic lower mid-ranger. You get, so that's how it's supposed to be. Now, the Dimensity, the variant with the Dimensity 1300 sells for around well over $500 on Amazon. And I think I cross-checked other selling platforms from Banggood and from other shippers like that, and I think most of them were mostly around the same price. Even if you were to check GSM Arena, that's the pricing. That's what you get. The Reno 8 5G, the 5G variant, the one with the Dimensity 1300. That's what you get for it. Now the other one, the one with the Snapdragon 680, that's the Reno 8 4G, sells for around £330. I couldn't find the pricing in dollars, but what I saw on GSM Arena was 330. That one doesn't really, it doesn't really seem to be, something that they put a lot of effort on. And if you were to go online and if you were not very tech savvy, it's mostly the Dimensity 1300 that you'd find. Mostly, that's like if you were to just go online and hit Reno 8, the one you'll be presented with is the Dimensity 1300. So mostly that's what most people feel should be the Reno 8. And then basically, like, if you were to look at both phones, and then if you were to, like, look at their specs, the spec sheet, $599 is approximately, in Naira, approximately 270k. Although I would get to that. I visited Nigerian outlets and I saw 278,000 Naira. So which means it's basically, that's the pricing of the 5G variant is around 278,000 in Nigerian Naira, whilst the 4G variant should be around 178,000 approximately if you were to convert, which should be fine because it does have 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. So if they are selling a Snapdragon 680 phone for around 178k in Naira, it's okay. There's absolutely nothing really wrong with that because inflation is at an all-time high. Prices of everything, not just phones, are skyrocketing, you understand? But when I decided to, like, check what this guy was saying, I mean, obviously, we've got the internet. The two biggest, like, phone outlets in Nigeria, I would say, are Slot and Pointech, and that's where I bought most of my phones from. If you look over there, I think those are some of the phones that I own, which I bought with my own money, and all of them were bought from either Slot or Pointech. So the first thing I did was to visit their websites, and the pricing I saw was for 278,000 Naira. So I looked around for if there was another variant, and I couldn't find any. So one would think, if one wasn't very, very, tech savvy, one would think that, seeing as it is that the pricing there is around $599 or 278,000 Naira, one would think that we're talking about the Dimensity 1300. But as a tech person, I never assumed. I decided to go into the spec sheet, and I scrolled, and I scrolled, and I scrolled. When it came to the part where they were supposed to list, in the details, like in the details of the product where they were supposed to list the processor, there was nothing there. All I saw was a bunch of gibberish talking about the core count and the type of cores that were inside. No name of processor. And when I see that, obviously people on my Telegram channel know. I think it's something that we've stressed severally, that if you were looking for the spec sheet of a phone, if there are no straight out names put out there, it means that somebody somewhere has something to hide, which is what I saw. And then it took me back to what the guy said, that he bought a phone he said he spent almost 280,000 Naira buying what he thought was a Dimensity 1300 smartphone, a phone with that processor, only for him to get home and see that it was a Snapdragon 680. And then I'm checking Pointech's website, I'm still seeing the same amount, the pricing for the Dimensity 1300, but with a Snapdragon processor. That was when I said, you know what, fine. This is online. I know most of these companies have kind of like a lax attitude towards keeping their websites up to date. So I decided to get out of my comfort zone, and I decided to go visit their their offices. I didn't want to visit like those smaller outlets because they're usually third parties. I mean, mostly you'd see like these brands have like direct distribution, like contracts with these two big outlets. I know Xiaomi does, and I think I know Samsung does also as well. So I felt that if anyone was to be in any place to like offer like very good information concerning pricing, it would be these two. So the first place I went off to was Slots, and when I got there, of course I saw the phone right there. It was on the table, and so I have done a video about like smartphone outlets and the attendants and why you should never ever take advice from them. So I went there. I was obviously looking at the phone, where there was no processor written there, and then again it made me more suspicious. And then the attendant came over and she was like, well, you want to get this phone? And I was like, yeah, I couldn't record obviously. And she was like, are you getting this one? I'm like, yes, I want to, but ma'am, what processor is inside this phone, this particular one? And straight up she just said she had no idea. All she could tell me was the price. And I was like, she was just so dismissive, and I was like, there's no way I am getting any information out of her. I thanked her for her time, and then I went into the shopping mall, like Warri shopping mall, and I went to Pointech's office. And on getting there, obviously there was a man seated there, and I was like, I would like to get this one. And he straight up 270,000 Naira. And I'm like, I'd like to know what's the name of the processor inside this one. And he was like, processor? It's Snapdragon now. And I'm like, why is this one costing the price of the Dimensity 1300? And he laughed, and then he said, I'm quoting him right now. I wish I could have recorded his audio, but then again, you don't record people without their permission. He said, and I quote, forget about all those online stuff. There is only one variant in Nigeria here, and that's the Snapdragon variant, and that's the price we've been told to sell. That was it. So I came back home, and I spoke with several people, some of whom were like who were intending, on getting that phone, because lots of people are always coming to me to ask me these things, and like, and somebody was like, "What about the Reno 8? That one is a good one, right? 278,000 naira." And I'm like, if you know what is good for you, avoid that phone. I mean, I understand, like I said, I understand that they put in a lot of system resources for RAM and storage into that phone, but it doesn't warrant selling a lower mid-range phone with a Snapdragon 680 processor for that amount. Selling a phone for that amount is tantamount to highway robbery. Highway robbery. If you do not believe me, I am going to leave links. Hopefully they don't take those pages down or they do not edit them. It's why I always keep screenshots, by the way. Honestly, you need to go there, you need to look for yourselves. The amount of I really don't understand why they would want to do this, why they would want to sell a phone for the price of the other due to some it's just not transparent, it's just not fair, it's just not nice. If you really love Oppo phones, this should be an eye-opener to you, that, like I will always tell people, you do not go to war on behalf of a brand. They are always out to make their profits. They are always out to. This brand is selling a Snapdragon 680 phone which should cost no more, and I am being generous here, no more than 170,000, given the additional stuff that they've put in there, the RAM, the storage, the extra cameras and all that. There are phones with the same processor, sporting the same 50 megapixel Samsung JN1 camera with the same RAM and storage that sell for less, way less. This is tantamount to highway robbery. It is unfair, it is callous, it is deceitful, and dare I say, it is criminal. Please make this go wide. People shouldn't fall for this scam. This is one of the biggest scams so far I have seen. I know that there are some brands that I have chastised in the past, that I have ranted about, who do this, but I have never seen this on a scale as much as this. Selling a Snapdragon 680 phone for 278 or 280,000 naira. It is just wrong. Wrong in every sense of the word. Your favorite YouTubers are not going to tell you this, because they're looking for endorsement deals, they're looking for brand deals, they're looking for perks. Your favorite YouTubers are not going to tell you this. With that, we've come to the end of this video. As always, I'll always tell people, please do your research. Please, always do your research. Always find things out. Always check the spec sheet before you part with your hard-earned money. My name is Jeffrey. Thank you for coming to my show, to my YouTube video. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.